Hey, this is Ryan and Justin. We want to welcome you to the Dynasty League. We just have a real quick video here to go over some of the rules, what the league looks like, what the philosophies are. So, first of all, I just want to tell you that this league, we recognize there's a lot of fantasy football players out there, and you guys like playing probably in a lot of different leagues. So the setup and the philosophy behind this league is that during the football season, it's not going to require a lot of week-to-week management. You will be asked to set your rosters and at least participate in some trading, but really, because of the way we've set up the league with no waiver wire, no free agents, and those type of things, that during the season, the football season, week-to-week management should be pretty minimal, allowing you to focus on your other leagues. But then during the off-season, as we prepare for our draft that we'll talk about more later, you can spend as much time, and I think this league will probably take a lot of time from you, or at least as much time as you want to give it, but that'll be during the times that you're not needing to focus on your other leagues.
Yep, so there's also going to be a huge focus on longevity and commitment to this league, because we want to see it last for a long time with the same players going forward.
Exactly.
So when you're in, we want you to be in for a long time, and I think that part of that structure will help out not a lot of demand in season, but in the off season where you can spread it out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're gonna have 6 to 9 months to plan and strategize instead of trying to do it, the 2 weeks at the end of August like you do in a lot of other leagues.
Okay, so I'm gonna talk a little bit about the rules and the setup of the in-season play league setup. So there's gonna be 10 teams. And it's going to be mostly standard scoring. There's a few changes that we're going to have there. Return yardage counts, it's pretty popular. There's going to be fractional scoring to reduce the risk of tie. We're going to be adding a wide receiver spot to like a normal league. So the roster spots would be quarterback, running back, flex, which would be a running back or a wide receiver.
Or tight end.
2 wide receiver only spots and 1 wide receiver tight end spot, 1 tight end spot, 1 defense special teams, and 1 kicker.
Yep.
So
it's a total of 10 starters.
Okay, and the total roster size is going to be 30 because because it's a Dynasty League, you're going to keep these same players indefinitely into the future, and we'll talk a little bit about what the draft and redraft will look like, but. We want to make sure that you check the scoring rules to make sure that you are up to speed on what the scoring rules are, preferably before you draft, so that
would be nice.
That might be a smart thing to do. We will do draft pick trading in season, but there is no free agency, there's no waiver wire in season. The only time you can pick up players is during the once-a-year draft, which we'll talk about a little bit. Also, one thing to bring up is, there's no free agency, no waivers.
Right.
Yep, that's right. So who you got, that's why we have 30 roster spots.
Right. So a perfect example of this, if you choose to draft only 1 kicker, when your bye week comes, you're not going to have a kicker, and there's no opportunity in season to pick up a replacement kicker. So you're just going to have an empty spot. If you have, if you suffer an injury or something like that, you need to make sure you have depth on your bench to cover that. And one of the things that I think could be interesting about this is, say you have 2 kickers on your team and they both have devastating knee injuries in the first week. The only kickers available in this entire league are kickers that exist on other teams. So unless you want to just punt the season, get it, kicker, punt, you're going to need to talk to other teams and try and trade for their kickers, and you might even have to give up something of decent value for a kicker, which in a traditional league is not valued very highly, but because it's a closed player pool, the only kickers available are those that are on other teams, not from a free agent waiver wire type acquisition.
That's right. So there's going to be 2 divisions set up, and teams will stay within those divisions indefinitely. You'll play your same division twice and the other division once, or something like that. We're still working out the details.
It'll depend on how long. I believe we have 14 weeks, and that would get us 13 games. So we have kind of 1 extra game. I'm going to guess that we'll do some sort of cross-divisional strength of schedule. In other words, the top 2 teams will play each other in that extra game, and the bottom 2 teams will play each other.
Yeah. Math guy over here. We'll let Math guy deal with it. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
So the playoffs are going to be 2-round playoffs, basically no byes. 4 teams will make the playoffs total to be determined. So 3 other teams other than my team will make the playoffs. So that's how that works.
And important on who makes the playoffs will be the winner of each division, and then the next 2 best teams. They could be from the 2 opposite divisions, or they could come from the same division.
Yep. And then there's a rule that I want to implement that's maybe called the character rule or the morality rule. And I think that punting at the end of the season, it's just no fun for everybody. When you sell 1 year to play for the next year, that can mess up some things. So, don't do that. That's lame,
Yeah, it is a dynasty league.
It is a dynasty league. Yeah, you're going to possibly be even more ruined. So maybe you should try that. Okay, draft. This year's draft. This year's draft is going to be different than other drafts because we're setting it up, we're getting it started. So we're going to use an auction format. So for the 10 teams, each team is going to have $500 to fill its 30 roster spots. So it's going to be an auction format. ESPN has auction mock drafts. If you've never done an auction, give it a try so you can learn the mechanism.
It's pretty simple. I wouldn't even if you've never done one, and I think everybody in this league probably has done an auction. I think there's only 2 people that I have not played with in the future, that I know may or may not have done an auction, and I think there's 1 person that I've played with that's never done an auction, but I'm confident that they can handle it. Because it's a total of 300 players being drafted, if you figure it takes about 30 seconds per draft pick on average, I think the timer runs on 20-second intervals. Towards the end of the draft, I can imagine that they'll just be 20 seconds every time. But during the start of the draft, some of those players might take a minute or 2 because there'll be more competitive bidding. I would pencil in 5 hours for the draft. I can't imagine that it's going to go that long or longer, but it wouldn't shock me if it was at least 3 or 4 hours. I think 2.5. If it was less than 2.5 hours, that would probably surprise me. So just carve out a decent chunk of time.
And again, this is just the first setup. This is just a way to have a balanced teams going into it. So it's just this first commitment on the 5-hour draft. We really need everybody to draft live. You can't just do auto pick because ESPN it'll just be messed up. It'll mess up for everybody, I think. So we need everybody to draft live. And my preference is that everybody who's in Shelton would get together and do it like on laptops in the same location. It'd be fun just to get to know some of the other people in the league, and it's just a lot of fun to do drafting together. We'll figure that out.
And then finally, as we go in the future, we will have at some point after the Super Bowl, we're going to have a drop date, and that is every team is going to have a list of players that they need to decide whether or not they're going to. You can keep all 30 of your players, or you can keep none of your players. That's up to you. And you will drop all teams will drop players at the same time. You're not going to know who other people are dropping. You've got to make that decision for your team, apropos nothing else. Then at some point, a few weeks after that drop date, a month after that drop date, I don't know what that is. We're going to have a redraft, and so in the redraft, you will get as many draft picks as you have dropped players. In other words, if you only have 24 people on your team, you're going to get 6 draft picks. If you have 29 players on your team, you're only going to get 1 draft pick. And so then we'll go in reverse order of standings from the last place to the champion of the league, drafting either rookies, previously undrafted free agents, or players that were dropped during that drop time. So this is the time of the year where you're going to be able to restock your team. And it's a pretty simple. I think it's pretty straightforward. I don't think there should be any problems. I think we're going to have a little bit of discussion and debate on when that drop time should be and when the redraft should happen. I know both Justin and I are looking at the redraft sometime early July before training camp. I know there's some of you guys that have said, oh, I really want it at the end of the training camp. But the goal of this league is to not take time away from your other leagues. And starting in about mid-July, I know a lot of people, myself included, are gearing up in my other leagues to do research for that. I'd rather have this league done and out of the way in future years. Yep. So I think that's it.
If you have any questions,
post them here. Feel free to email me. Both of us have played a fair amount of fantasy football. I've run a fair amount of leagues. I'm really excited. I've wanted to do a Dynasty League for a long time. I hope you guys are excited about this as well. If you do decide that a Dynasty League's not for you after doing this for a year, you're kind of like, I'm going to check out. The one thing that I'd ask is that you work with us on finding a replacement owner that maybe you can go a half season handing that team off, because we do want to have this league going in perpetuity. But I recognize, hey, you know, somebody could die, somebody could just say, hey, I'm done with football. Whatever, terrible things happen, it's not unheard of. I don't want that to kill the league. I'm full of puns. But so I don't want you to feel like you're locked in. I hope that you're locked in to this forever. I know I'm going to be playing this. Hopefully I can will this to one of my kids or something. My daughters will accept my team in the will. That I think would be pretty cool. You know, do this for 20 years. You know, so that's what the Dynasty League's about. Have fun, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you guys soon when the draft comes up.
That's right.
All right.
Any questions? Let us know.
I peaced out, yo.